Everything we do is we think it's going to make us happy. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. And it's not from external, it's internal.
Welcome, y'all. You are in for a treat today. This is Sherry Winn. So, Sherry, can you start by telling everybody what it was like growing up with the last name of Winn, W-I-N-N?
So you're going to love this. When I was born, this was quite a while ago. This wasn't like, wasn't far, but it was a long time ago. But my parents had the birth announcement. And on the birth announcement, it actually said, announcing a new member to the Winn starting lineup, height, weight, hometown, and then at the bottom it said position and it said star. I'm glad I was born with a name. I'm glad I was predicted to be a star.
That is so wonderful. Well, and so what have you done with your winning life?
Well, I always like to talk about and try to get people to understand this. With every greatness, there's always failures behind it. And so I'm not going to list all the failures, it would take too long. So we'll stick with the greatness, but there's always those things that build us into who we are. And people call those failures. It's just those building blocks. But I was able to be like, two-time Olympian, two-time All-American, academic All-American, valedictorian in my college. I was a national championship basketball coach. And recently I've been a 3-time best-selling author. And I've spoken to companies as large as 14,000 people in stands and to people like McDonald's. So it's been a great life, right? And if I told you all the other stuff and you go, how can you say it's been a great life? Well, all those other things happen so that I could create this journey of happiness and joy and fulfillment. So just to let people know that that is the process of being human.
And it is the reason why I'm so thrilled to have you here talking to my people about leadership, which is something that they don't think of themselves as doing. And wouldn't you agree that I know in my life, my greatest failures is what has made me a better leader. It's exactly that. And I so appreciate your humility to point that out, because so many people, you all know exactly what I'm talking about. So many people would just sit back and say, oh yeah, I mean, did you hear all the accomplishments she's had? But look at how she made a point of talking about how, yeah, this wasn't like it was every single day, 365 days a year, extra day every leap year.
And so when we can look at these challenges in front of us, and I like to say the obstacles are adventures, because if you can really feel that every obstacle you go through is an adventure, it changes the way you feel about it. Like you're not like, oh my gosh, this happened to me and this is horrible. You're like, what's going to come out on the other side? What's this going to be like? So I think that that's what we want to do, is really look at obstacles as adventures and then understand that all of us are leaders because we have to lead ourselves. And if you're not doing that, then you're one of those people that are really struggling in life. And we're all leaders, whether we're leading a company or leading a company of 1 or a company of 10 or a company of thousands. We still have to start with leading ourselves first.
Do you find people love to hear you say that, or does it make them uncomfortable?
You know what? I think that the big thing that most people now are understanding is the power of leadership is self-awareness. Like it's the biggest thing that you can do to become a great leader is to become really, really self-aware. And people go, well, why? Like, why should I be self-aware leader? Well, that's where all your power is, because that's where you understand what triggers you. That's where you understand that you're not reaching your audience, whether that's an audience of 1 or 5 or your partner or your kids. That's where you're not unafraid to ask for truth tellers, that you have truth tellers that will come to you and you're going to have honest conversations. That's where you are a student of yourself. And so you understand how you present, what your strengths and weaknesses are. There's so much power to being self-aware. And that's where the power of leadership starts.
That's so true. I always say that the greatest journey, I think, of self-awareness is being an entrepreneur, because you are faced with your failures all the time. And in speeches, we'll always say that I failed. I mean, it cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, the failures and mistakes I made. And that the whole reason I started Retail Mavens was to try to make your lives a little easier, to give you more of a escalator rather than the stairs that you fall up and fall down. And yet I work hard to also be honest about things. And I love what you said about how obstacles are adventures. I had never thought about it quite like that. And something happened inside the company, and I made a mistake. So a team member made a mistake, but she made that mistake because I did not coach her right. I mean, the responsibility was on me. I mean, she wanted to do the right thing. She would have done the right thing. And so I went to my COO and I was like, I am firing myself from this position. I cannot do this. And she's like, oh my gosh. She says, what do you mean? I said, no, really, like this just can't happen again. This just cannot. I felt like such a huge failure. I work hard to support my team and everything, and I had let them down. What was fascinating was to look at that now as an obstacle, and what's come out of it until now is that we've restructured a bunch of our company, and oh my gosh, this is going to serve our people so much better, the way the format, the way we've structured things now. And it never would have happened if I didn't say, yeah, I totally screwed up. And I think I just wanted to share that because I'm sure there's someone else that's feeling that exact same way right now. And yeah, so think of it as an adventure. What's going to happen next?
Yeah, so it's like if you're going out on a hike or you're on a rafting ride or kayak or canoe or
Mhm.
whatever, you're excited and there's going to be obstacles and you're excited because you don't even know what they are yet. And then when you
Mhm.
get through them, you feel better about yourself. You're like, wow, I can do that. That was amazing. I
Mhm.
did that. And
Mhm.
that's the thing you want to do is understand that every single thing is a journey to another level of yourself, to uncover the next level of yourself. Who are you going to become? Who can you become? What does that look like? And the excitement of that, I think so many times we just get mad at something and we think it's not fair. Well, what's fair? Fair is you deciding you're going to see that as your adventure into that next huge step of unraveling who you can really become.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And so it's that difference that makes those people the difference between the people who ultimately are the people who live in mediocrity or the people who live in mastery. That's
Mhm.
the difference.
Yes, that is the difference. You're right. No one wants to live in mediocrity. That's not what our goal is in life. Oh, I cannot wait to be mediocre today, says no one. I really like that. The other thing I really want to spend a moment on is when you were talking about how, right, you hit these obstacles. And I think about all of my independent store owners here and think about the obstacle that was presented to them when the government said that they had to close their doors. I mean, luckily the websites they could keep open, but I mean, that was unprecedented and something people never thought that they would get through, but they have. If you're listening and you've gotten through that, talk about taking an obstacle into an adventure that we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we've already accomplished.
Well, I think that's something else that happens with a lot of people that I work with and my coaching clients is they call it the imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I just
Mhm.
laugh because I'm like, everybody has it. Like everybody has imposter syndrome. If you don't have imposter syndrome, what that means is that you're not challenging yourself to the next level. Because
Mhm.
anytime we challenge ourselves to the next level, we're going to feel that self doubt. That is what's going to happen. And then people go, oh, I have this syndrome like it's a disease. It's not a disease. What it means is you're leveling up, man. You're just leveling up. That's all it means. So many of my clients go there and we have to have this conversation about you're leveling up, like you are becoming this new amazing individual. And whenever we do that, it's that first thing is it's too hard. I don't know if I can make it. Of course, it's a natural feeling to feel that way. And the people who are awesome, the people who achieve that incredible success are the people who feel the fear and do it anyway, right? The other people go, I have an imposter syndrome. I need medication. No, no, you don't need medication. You just need the understanding that you have this. Like you just need that confidence to know that you've got this. If I wish I could tell you the number of people that I've worked with that have come in with, I've got imposter syndrome. And then when they're able to understand what that really is, they can also have confidence and they're able to understand that. I mean, because I say, look, all of us without fail are born miracles. We're all born miracles. And then we
Mhm.
learn we're not from the people around us. Well, what do they know? They only know what they've been taught, right? And so we are born miracles. And if we just tap into that awareness and that knowledge, we're allowing ourselves to tap into who can we become? What is the limit of our humanness? What's the limit of our abilities? Well, it's only limited by our belief systems.
And by succumbing to those obstacles. It's what a fabulous reframe that is because fact is that it's when we become comfortable that we become mediocre. And there are times for that and there are days for that and that's totally fine. But right, I love the idea of looking at imposter syndrome, which absolutely everybody has and people don't know that. I get that you only know what you know, but oh my goodness, if you take nothing else from this time with us, know that everybody is fearful. I mean, I've been speaking for like, I don't know, 20 years now. I still get nervous every single time before I walk on stage. I get nervous before every single video I do, every single time. It's crazy. People are like, oh my gosh, you come across so natural. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. But let me tell you, you know, no one thinks they're good enough, but you can take that and twist it and think, no, when I feel imposter syndrome, yes, I should celebrate it because it means I'm on my way to mastering something new.
Absolutely. You're
Wow.
standing in your own power. So many times we disempower ourselves. That's what we do. It's been a lifetime disempowering instead of
Mhm.
empowering. That's what we do to ourselves. And then it's like we repeat over and over again. You're like, I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough. I'll never make this work. I can't make this store work. You'll never. And then they go, can't believe that it's failed. Well, I can. What was your messaging to yourself the whole time? And I have many people that they're self-messaging.
Mhm.
It's so
Mhm.
negative, and they don't even
Mhm.
understand what they're saying to themselves all day long. We gotta rewire your brain. If you're one of those people who are like, "This is the best I can do, and I've tried really hard, and things are just not going my way, and I knew it wasn't gonna work out anyway." Okay, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's stop. Stop, stop, stop. Because you're not telling yourself the things that are gonna help you go forward. And you've gotta understand that the things you say to yourself are real. I mean, they have real results. They're not just empty words, and, they're real. You can't get anywhere if you're telling yourself one thing and you're expecting a different result. I mean, that's kind of what insanity is, right? So you have to make sure you're telling yourself the right things, and not only telling yourself the right things, you have to learn to believe them, right? That's the challenge, is that you have to really believe. And so every day I say to myself, I'm a miracle. I do. I'm like, we're all miracles. There's nobody that's alive that's not a miracle. We're all
Mhm.
miracles. Every day our body does things that we don't even know it does. Like, gets rid of toxins in our body, or our liver's working. Our blood is always doing something. We don't have to think about, well, I need to move my lung. Those things occur naturally. It's a miracle. We're just miracles walking around. And if we tap into that, man, just how much more can you do?
Exactly, because it's all your perspective. And it's the whole thing about how life is happening for you, not to you. It's like that book, The Obstacle is the Way. It's interesting. My son just had his first baby, a son, and it is so incredible how we can look at those little tiny babies. Well, actually, this little baby was 10 pounds, 11 and 3/4 ounces. So he was huge. But you know what I'm saying? We look at these newborns and we're like, oh, we're so awed by God's miracles. But you're right, we don't ever stop.
Right.
Like all of that keeps happening, and yet we lose that sense of wonder and instead look at obstacles like, oh, okay, I guess I'm supposed to stop right here. Okay, all right, I'll just stop right here. But no, that's not it. Oh my goodness. The other thing I really want you all listening to hear is, listen, friends, you are indeed, not only are you a miracle, but you are a leader. That's why what we're talking about today is so important to you. And don't shut that off. I see so many independent store owners shut that down, that they don't think of themselves as the CEO. They don't think themselves as a leader, but you are. And I love the way you put it, Sherry. Even if you're the only person in the store that's running the store right now, you're a leader of yourself. So what's one leadership habit that our store owners can start practicing today that will immediately create impact for them?
Take time for themselves. So every day honor you. You have to fuel yourself. You have to feed yourself. Now, a lot of people don't do that, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, I got to do that. And we make up our list of everything that we've got to do for the store, for our people, for our team, for our family. And we forget to feed ourselves. Have a habit, whether that's meditation or prayer or reading something positive, or, having a gratitude journal, or exercising, or whatever. Have a habit that feeds you, that fuels you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
give that self-care to you every single day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing I think any person can do, because you
Mm-hmm.
can't give what you don't have. So you got to make sure that you're fueled up so that you can give to the people around you, whether it's your clients, your customers, your team members, your family, right? You got to make certain, and I do this every morning. I get up at 5 a.m. so that I can do me time. So I give myself 45 minutes of me time before I start my day, right? And that's why people think, well, you're so optimistic. They'll say you're optimistic because I train myself to do it. It's a training. I'll tell you something. I was doing a leadership retreat for a company, and I like to do this little exercise I do, and I needed some pieces of 2x4. So I went down to my barn to cut it, and I tried to use a circular saw, and I couldn't get it cut. I just got a new table saw from my dad, and I hadn't really set it up right. I haven't really read the instructions. I used a table saw several years ago, and so I knew enough it was dangerous. I'm like, this is dangerous. I've got to really be careful with this table saw. And so I go, I probably shouldn't do this by myself, because you really need somebody to hold the long 2x4, because the wood can kick back and hurt you. But I go, you know what? I can do it. Like, I can do it. So I go, I'll be careful. I'll be careful. Well, sure enough, I put the wood through. It kicks back. Wham. Now you can imagine how fast it is. because you know how fast the saw is spinning to make the cut. Cathy, I want you to make sure you understand this. The first thought out of my mind was, that's a miracle. First thought. You know why? Because it didn't hit me in the face. It didn't hit me in the teeth or the nose or the eyes. Like it just hit me here. It gave me a big bruise and a big knot, but it didn't hurt anything else, right? And I go, that's a miracle. People go, you did that? I said, and they go, how do you do that? I go, because I trained myself. I trained myself to see miracles. I trained myself in the morning to write down one miracle either I've experienced or somebody else has experienced. So I'm looking for them. I'm seeking them. And this is what your independent time, your you time, your me time, the fill the cup time is about. It's about teaching you to seek out, right? To seek out the things that you want to have. And so 10 years ago, I probably cursed, been mad. I'd had to after I cursed and I was mad, I had to tell myself how stupid I was. That's the next thing I would have done. And then I would have had to fight the machine to win. None of those occurred now. I did say that's a miracle. I go, well, that probably wasn't smart. And then I went over to the neighbors and said, would you cut this for me? And he did. So done in 10 minutes, over. And I didn't feel bad about myself. I didn't feel like I was incomplete. I didn't feel unworthy. I was just like, I got it done. And that's the power of me time. That's what I'm telling people. That's the power of utilizing me time, is to fill yourself to the place that you're able to, when those obstacles come, right? You're able to navigate them so much better. You're able to navigate them as an adventure.
Mhm. The thing I want everyone to walk away with is to recognize what Sherry is pointing out here, which is that leadership of yourself and of others is a learned skill. It's not something that you are necessarily born with. People are charismatic, and that is something that is naturally born. So you think of a charismatic leader, okay, that's different. But the skill of leadership is exactly that, a skill. You can learn it. Yeah, I learned that from our coach, and that was just such a powerful thing to see. It's interesting because I think about how retailers, I often talk about how being in a store is kind of like being in an emergency room. Like it has the same, you don't have any idea what fire is going to hit you. A client's going to walk through the front door furious about something, and a vendor's going to be mad or whatever. There's a lot of turnover. There's long hours. So winning leadership, it's interesting because I was looking for you to give me this miracle answer to that question. But frankly, it comes back to taking care of yourself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's what that learned behavior, and you were talking about, if you have a vendor that's mad or a customer that's mad, when you fill yourself up and you keep teaching yourself and training yourself, you don't react, you respond. You're able to have a very calm conversation. You're able
Mhm,
to resolve the conversation. You're able to de-escalate the conversation.
mhm, mhm.
And, so many people escalate conversations, or they get mad, they take it personal, and then they beat themselves up for the next hour, 3 hours, 7 hours, whatever. I always ask this question when I do live speaking events, and I will say, how many of you have ever allowed what somebody else has said to ruin an hour of your day? And without fail, 100% of the people raise their hands, without fail. And I'll say, well, what about a half a day? It's still about 99%. What about a full day? And now we're down to maybe 97%, but it's still a large number of people. Well, that's working on you. If you really take the time and invest, this is the important thing, invest, because you're not spending time, you're not wasting time, you're investing time that's going to come out, in other ways in your business. And that's the most important thing, is to invest in you, because it's going to change everything that you do.
Mhm. It's so interesting. Stephen Covey teaches about there's a stimulus and then a response. And in animals, there's no time between those two things, between the stimulus and the response. That's why they react. That's why you call it animal reactions, because you're reacting like that. But what humans can do is we can create a gap there. And between the stimulus and the response, so that we can change the response. But that gap, the size of the gap is determined by you. Are you going to be hurt by this? Are you taking this personally? Is your ego involved? The more involved your ego is in that, so it's exactly what you're saying. That's so fascinating. So now what I'd like to do is kind of shift this a little tiny bit and talk about sharing, about leading others, and about, you talk a lot about clarity and about communication. How can leaders get better at that and sharing their vision of what it is that they want for their business and for their store and for the impact they want to have on their community? And how can you make that stick?
Communication is, again, like you said, it's a learned behavior. Where do we learn our communication skills from? And people say, our parents. Absolutely. Now think about this. People who are listening, raise your hand. How many of you grew up in a family who would do something like this? Hey, honey, let's sit down and have a conversation. I'd really love to hear what you have to say. Let's find a solution to this. And again, let's say there's 500 people in the crowd. I'm going to have 3 people that raise their hand. So what do our parents do? Well, our parents usually did one of these things. They would, do the the blame game, not me, you. You're the one who did it. Number two, I have to be right. So no matter what was said, they had to be right. They could never say the other person might be right or they had a good point or whatever. The third thing they did is temper tantrum, right? But throw a big temper tantrum and storm out of the room. And the fourth thing they do usually is a silent treatment. I'm not going to talk to you. We'll just keep them silent for about a week, and then we'll be okay. That's typically what people do. As growing up, if you don't take the time to invest again in reading about communication, getting a coach about communication, taking webinars or whatever it is, if you don't invest, you're just going to do the things you knew how to do growing up. So that's why a lot of times your relationships look exactly like your parents' relationships did, because you haven't done anything differently. If you
Mm.
invest in it, then you will find techniques. I mean, there's all kinds of assertive techniques that I can teach you that will help you understand how to de-escalate a conversation, how you don't have to be right in a conversation, how you can be able to move through that, right? What are the things that you do when, something doesn't go your way? How do you react? Most people react and not respond. So there's certain things that you can learn that will help you in your communication, right? So that's part of it. It's the same thing with clarity. I mean, a lot of people don't even know what their goals are. Their goals. Well, I just want to get better. Well, that not going to work, right? We got to sit down and recognize, what do you really want to achieve here? And they're like, oh my gosh, if I write it down, then it won't happen. I'm like, no, that's where it all happens. Like writing it down, visualizing it, believing in it, seeing yourself doing it, like feeling the outcome of it, feeling as if it's already occurred. Like that's why Olympic athletes are so good, is because they visualize the outcome the way they want it to be. They don't go, oh no, if I visualize it, it's not going to happen. No, we all know if you visualize it exactly as you want it and you pretend as if you're in that moment, that it's going to happen. So it comes down again to this willingness to invest in you. You got to spend time in you. You got to spend time in learning the things that you're maybe not as great at as you should be.
I love what you said about that, because it's true that so much of Olympics training now is, of course, scientifically based and proven. And it is true that visualization is a proven technique, proven successful technique. And I ignored it for a very long time myself. One of the topics you speak about is called From Meltdown to Mastery. And I just love this, the journey from control to connection in leadership. And I think that I'd love to hear you tell us how leaders can shift from trying to control everything, like how my team member is going to communicate, how they're going to greet the customers, how they're going to check in merchandise, and how they are trying to micromanage, and how that won't last for long term, will it? What's the difference maybe between expectations and controlling things? And how can they go to building deeper connections? What difference does that make?
Well, this is the place where a lot of people get confused, right? They're confused accountability and micromanaging. You
Mm.
must hold people accountable. I don't care how much you believe in them. It's like, why do we have speed limits? Right? Because we know you put a speed limit sign up, and if you never have a cop car there waiting, people will not go the speed limit. You have to hold people accountable. That's a common thread. And I learned that as a young basketball coach. I had a team really good. They all said, we want to be national championships. Are you willing to do what it takes? Yes. Are you willing to work out extra? Yes. Are you willing to come early morning? Yes. We're going to do whatever it takes. Yes. And so about 2 way through the season, I said, you know what? So getting you up at 6 a.m. to do weights, I'm going to allow you to do weights on your own. You have to have a buddy. You have to sign in to the weight room. So I did things to kind of hold them accountable. And then I found out later that over half the team wasn't lifting. They were just going down, signing the sheet and walking back out. People who wanted to be, they said, this was our goal. So you have to hold people accountable. So you have to have some sort of accountability. You don't have to look over the shoulder. You don't have to tell them exactly how to do something. That's micromanaging. You don't have to say, you got to reply to me every hour on the hour. That's micromanaging. You don't have to say, this is exactly the way that you have to do it. You give them boundaries. You give them that opportunity, and then you give them accountability. You say, okay, what were their sales this week, or how many contacts you made? That's accountability, because if you don't hold people accountable, they will fail, right? And so you just have to learn the difference between those two things. And that's where control issues come up. And control issues are always about fear. So let's dive into, what is the fear that you have that you think that you need to be in control, because that's where control issues stem from. And that's what I do with coaching clients that I work with, is we go to the deeper levels to not only discuss how to hold people accountable and what's the difference between accountability and micromanaging, but what is the fear that you have that we need to resolve so that you can take these steps and actually do the steps.
Don't you find that the fear is just always failure? Like, I fear that if customers aren't worked or treated the way I feel like they should be worked, that we won't succeed. If the price tag isn't put on exactly the right spot, I feel like we're going to fail. Don't you find that that's true?
I think a lot of it stems from other things, like, it could be stems from unworthiness, a feeling of unworthiness, since your ego's gotta be in charge, so you gotta be the person who's in charge of doing everything, so that's another one of them. But no matter what we do, whatever emotion that we have that's running us, we don't run our emotions, we let our emotions run us, and so we have to figure out why they're running us. And once you expose it for why it's necessary, like, how does it benefit you? How does it benefit you to be the person in control? In what ways does that work out for you? And when we expose that, a lot of times, Kathy, they just go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing that or I'm that person. It's the same thing that was done to me. I used to be a really angry person. I mean, oh, anger was my name. Sherry Angry Wit.
So, right, again, it's all about you. You're making it about you when you're trying to control. But isn't it funny how you just don't always see things that clearly?
Well, that's what people invest in you, Kathy. That's what they invest in me, right? They're looking for people that can help them get out of whatever it like they've had
Mhm.
this thing and they usually have had it repeatedly. They're not going to go ask for help the first time. It's like, okay, I'm 50 and this has been going on all my life. Or I have people go, this has been going on for a decade. This has been going on for 20 years and I'm tired. Then you're ready to go. Then you're ready to change. You're ready to shift. Like then you're ready to shift. There's the young people that have not yet had those life experiences that don't know that they need to invest themselves because they haven't had the life patterns to show up,
Correct.
right? Once you see the life patterns, like you're running a retail business and you're just barely getting by. I mean, you're making enough to make it, but you're not thriving, you're just surviving, and you've experienced this year after year after year after year. That's when they go, okay, Kathy, need your help. The
Yeah.
same thing
Yeah.
with me. That's when people recognize that they need my assistance to get where they want to go.
Right. It's fascinating you're saying that because just this morning, someone called and signed up for our high level program saying, I am 50 years old and I want to fast track my success. So, like, he so clearly knew what he didn't know. And
Right.
that just doesn't always happen.
We're all on this journey.
Yeah, for
On this
sure.
journey called life, and that's why I think empathy should be
Mhm,
involved as a
mhm.
leader. It doesn't mean you don't people go, "Well, if you're empathetic, you don't discipline." I'm like, "No. If you have empathy, you absolutely will because you understand that if you don't help that person get to where they need to go by giving them boundaries, by giving them choices, by giving them consequences to those choices, they can't grow."
So to go from controlling to creating deeper connection is that honestly, it starts with a deeper connection with you because you're aware that you're trying to control. And you guys, I want you all to write down 25 ways that you can try to control things and what you get from it. Oh my gosh, that is mind blowing to think about. And so once you get that deeper connection with yourself, then you work with your team to give them accountability techniques.
Then you work with your team. I mean, once you understand like what it is that you're doing, like you can't change until the root cause of what's happening. And
Mhm.
then you learned like how do I delegate? Like you learn the 9 steps of delegation. You understand what delegation does for somebody. Then you could actually do those. But before, the reason you don't delegate, the reason you don't empower is because you have a control issue. We've got to do both. You have to do both things in conjunction to make a change.
So true. Oh my golly. I am so grateful for everything that you've shared in this short time together. Where can we get more information? Tell everyone about the name of your book.
The last book that was published was called Winning Leadership: 7 Secrets to Being a Truly Powerful Leader. It's on Amazon and I think 999 other places that you can find it.
We'll put the links in the show notes for you guys.
But you can also, you could contact me. I'm happy to have a free call with you. And people go, free? Like, come on, like really free? I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. You're about retail. I'm about leadership, right? Not gonna take away your business, but if you want to have a free call with me, 45 minutes to discuss like any of those issues that you're struggling with in leadership, happy to do that for you. And so here's the catch. You're like, free, free, free. What does that mean? That means that you're gonna have to rant and rave about me specifically on LinkedIn because that's where people can find me is on LinkedIn. So you have to rant and rave about me to other organizations, associations, and people, and I'll give you that call. And all you have to do is go to my website and just say, "Hey, I listened to you on Cathy Wagner's podcast. I really want to take you up on this." And I'll guarantee you, there's only going to be about one person that will do this, right?
Right.
So because you're like, "Oh, I don't know, I'll do it, but," that means you're not ready. You're just not ready for the adventure yet.
But if you're feeling the slightest inkling that at the slightest little tickle in your gut If you have imposter syndrome, and if you're thinking, oh no, I'm not at the right stage to talk to her yet. No, I mean, I just want to wait until I get a little bit. Well, then you know what? You're probably right. Or you're going to push through that because you're going to recognize that you're sitting in mediocrity and you're having this opportunity to take a huge step, a giant leap towards mastery of your leadership skills. This was such an incredibly generous offer. Thank you so much for that. Hey, and we always like to end our podcast with talking about a Millie moment, like a moment when you achieved something in your life that felt extraordinary. And in your life, you've achieved so much. Is there one thing that made you pause and really gave you an incredible sense of pride and inspiration?
This is going to sound funny, but I'm going to give it to you. When I was growing up, I always thought that was the achievement of something was going to complete me. And so I was all-state athlete in 3 sports in high school. I didn't feel any differently. So I said, well, I've got to be an All-American. That didn't make me feel different. I said, well, I got to be an Olympian. Didn't make me feel different. I got to do that twice. Didn't make me feel different. So I got to be a national championship coach. Did not complete me. And then it's when I realized, look, those things are great, but that's not what completes me. That is not me. Right? That's an accomplishment, but that's not what's inside me that counts. When I realize like there's nothing I'm going to achieve that's going to complete what I want, which is total happiness and total joy and peace and serenity. And when I recognize that, and then I started working differently to, not saying that I'm not looking for, accomplishments, but they're not essence of me anymore. The essence of me is me, right? The essence of me is this person that I really enjoy being with. I enjoy being with me now. That's the moment. And so all of those other things were great, but I was searching for something that all the time was inside me. And once I found that, then the other things that happen and occur, they're wonderful and they're great. But if they don't happen, it doesn't crush me.
Right. Yeah, I haven't achieved that quite yet, to be totally honest, Sherry, but I can appreciate how the more I work to feed and fuel myself, like you talked about, and what has to happen, and the more I allowed perfection to get out of it and think, oh, I have to have this hour-long workout. It has to be this certain way. Well, no, honestly, I learned from that book. Oh, I have it right up there. What's it called? Oh, Atomic Habits by James Clear, that a 10-minute bad workout is better than no workout, right? And so in anything you do, taking that first step is what makes all the difference. And it starts with, right, feeding yourself and looking at those obstacles as being adventures and watching the words you say to yourself. So much of it is about reframing and recognizing that life isn't about you.
Everything we do is we think is going to make us happy. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. And so what we're really looking for is happiness. That's what we're looking for. And so when you find it, you understand how you get it. And it's not from external, it's internal.
Right. What I have loved about visualizing, so I got this amazing mission from God to do $5 million. And then I actually counted out how many retailers that means we're going to help. And so that's what it becomes about to me. The dollars, like being able to serve that many people, oh my goodness. But I can fall out of feeling like I'm capable of that often. And so I actually set a timer on my phone for 3 times during the day. And I write on my alarm says, take a breath and believe. And I really work to do it. And so sometimes I can do it for 5 minutes. Sometimes I can do it for 1 breath, but it's so powerful to reframe things. And so often people hear the wisdom that you shared today and think, oh yeah, no, I got that. I understand reframing. Sure. And I have to say positive things, but
there's a depth to that. It's far beyond the simplicity that we're talking about today. If you really want to achieve that, there is a way to it, and it takes some effort, right? But the only thing, things that feel good, they took effort to get there. So
exactly. And Sherry has volunteered to help you as long as you're willing to rant and rave about her, which I know you won't have no trouble doing. And so I challenge you to do that. It's what we do at Retail Mavens, that we talk about leadership. That's why I was so thrilled. I started off this whole thing talking to Sherry about how I was so thrilled to have her here, because this is something that's not addressed enough in our world, is being a leader. And you don't see yourselves as leaders, but you are. Get her book. The more you expose yourself to leadership techniques and wisdom, the more you'll become that way. That's the truth. And if this really did tickle in yourself, tickle your heart, if this really did hit you, I would be so honored for you to leave a review for us. I'd be so honored for you to share it with your best friend that wants to be the same kind of leader that you want to be, right? Because we're all here to lift each other up. That's what we're here to do. It's such an honor to serve you all. And thank you so much, Sherry, for being with us. I've learned so much from our time together. Thank you.
Thank you, Cathy. I appreciate you.
And to everyone, including Sherry, you are all miracles. You are all astonishingly fabulous, and you are loved. Thank you so very much for being here. Bye-bye, everybody.